Here we are after the Easter break and starting Hebrews part 3, lesson 1.
Yes.
So we're about to finish Hebrews after what have we've been doing this for like a whole year, I think.
Almost, yeah.
Yeah, part 1, part 2, part 3 will take us through May. So it's just been, from my perspective, it's been a great study and just
It
spending
has
that
been.
much time in it and really digging into it. So, and we just celebrated Easter. So my question for you is, did you have any thoughts of Hebrews over the Easter weekend, Good Friday or Easter Sunday? Did anything from Hebrews come back to your mind?
The curtain of the temple, for one thing.
The curtain.
I thought about the sacrifice that Christ made for us only one time, and that was
Mhm.
it.
And that was it. And why was that it? Only one time.
Because because Christ is the ultimate high priest, and because of his sacrifice, we don't have to do it every year. That one time made the ultimate difference in my life, and I bet everybody's life, that he did it one time and he did it for everybody.
Okay, and then how is that different from the old system?
The old system, you had to bring a dove or a ram or a lamb once a year to atone for your sins. And then the when Christ died, the veil was rent. So that meant we don't have to go before the priest or the altar to ask for forgiveness. We could go directly to the Father Himself.
Right, you have confidence to enter the holy place, right? Now that that veil has been
Yes.
torn. So there's the difference, and that's what Hebrews is talking about, right? They lived under the old sacrificial system, which could never cleanse the conscience. It was just external. And then the new system with Jesus, when he came as our high priest, then he was a sacrifice once for all. Jim sent me pictures of something that he built over the break. Do you want to share with us, Jim, what you did? It was pretty cool.
Sure, yeah. I put together basically a Lego version of the tabernacle that I got from a company called Bible Bricks. And yeah,
Mm.
so it's a 3D model of the tabernacle with all the things inside. It's fun to build and will definitely help me remember it more.
Right, right. Because we've been talking about remembering the tabernacle and what everything in there represented, because it's all a picture of Christ.
Yeah, we need to see it.
Yeah.
I'll maybe send the group a picture of it then.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, because it's really interesting. And I'm sure that was a fun project, but now it's in his head. No, it's there. So we were talking about how you can use that to witness to people. If you understand the tabernacle, you can use that to witness to people about Christ being the high priest and the sacrifice, better temple, better blood, better everything once for all. So yeah, so you can look forward to that picture. And so Jim, it was a kit. Is that right? Yeah. It's a kit that you can get to build Bible scenes.
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, it was a kit from a place called Bible Bricks.
Okay,
Yeah.
Bible bricks.
BibleBricks.com, I think it is.
Okay. Fun thing to do if you've got grandkids, maybe.
That's what I was just thinking.
Yeah, it'd be
Mhm.
really good for kids
Yeah.
or big kids.
BibleBricks.com. Okay, so because we've had a break and we're starting the last section, we're just going to do a little bit of review, and we're going to use the Hebrews at a glance chart that was in your lesson, or you can use the one that you created on your own as we went through part 1 and part 2. So what I'm talking about is the at a glance chart.
Yep.
Okay, so if you want to have that in front of you, or again, like your own, because your own that you created is going to look different than this one that was created for this lesson. Because what's the purpose of an at a glance chart?
Help me remember what I read, what was in each chapter.
Exactly. It's to help you remember what you read, how you are going to identify the main points of each chapter, so that then you get the whole story. So we're going to use the one that was in the lesson today, but just know you can use your own and it will look a little different, but it should be very similar because we're hitting the main points of what is this chapter about. Okay, so if you want to look at that chart, and you can see at the top, it says a book theme. Book theme. What's the overall theme of this book? Jesus, our high priest. Our high
This
priest.
meeting is being recorded.
I don't know what that was, but Jesus, our high priest. And then what are we supposed to do? Because he is our high priest, it says, let us hear
Remember
him,
him, draw near, and hold fast.
draw near, and hold fast. Okay, so now let's look at this. We don't ever talk really much about segment divisions. So we have in the chapter themes, each chapter has a theme, but next to that in the column, you'll see segment divisions. I'm just going to kind of explain that today because every book has segments. Like in this instance, the first 2 chapters, what is it speaking about?
God spoke in his son.
Right. So God spoke in his son. And if we look at those, chapter 1, remember that started with, in the past, he spoke in the prophets, and now he speaks through his son. And it says he is superior to the angels. And that in chapter 2, we should listen to him because that is now how God speaks through Jesus. So listen to him. So that segment is about Jesus, who he is, and then how we should listen to him because of who he is. So that's the first segment division, those 2 chapters. Okay, then he's going to start talking about Jesus and how he is the high priest. He's going to start introducing this change of the whole sacrificial system that had a high priest. Remember what the high priest did once a year?
The atonement for sin.
Okay, and how did that take place? When and where?
Well, at the temple, the tent temple originally, and in the Holy of Holies.
Right. So remember, get that picture. Jim's already got that picture in his head for sure. The holy place and the Holy of Holies separated by the veil. So that high priest would go and offer that sacrifice how often?
Once a year.
A year.
Once a year, only on the Day of Atonement. He would go in there and offer the blood of an animal. So that's how they used to do it. Now the writer of Hebrews is trying to say to them, no, now you have a high priest who is better than that high priest. So then in chapters 3 through 10, he is talking about that high priest and explaining why he's different. So in chapter 3, what do we learn about the high priest? It says, consider him, right? Consider him and don't harden your hearts. Don't harden your hearts. And he gave an example of the Old Testament, how they hardened their hearts in the past. when when God was speaking to them. Don't harden your hearts. Okay. And what about chapter 4? What do we learn about this high priest system?
Don't fail to reach the eternal rest.
Right. So your mind should be going back to that chapter and what we talked about entering the rest. And then chapter 5, what did we learn about the high priest?
In the order of Melchizedek.
Okay, in the order of Melchizedek. Now, what are you thinking when we say in the order of Melchizedek?
Well, he's an enigmatic character who appears in the Old Testament with no beginning and no real end.
Mm-hmm.
He's a priest forever.
Priest forever.
Mm-hmm. Right, a priest forever. So again, he's by introducing Melchizedek, he's saying there is a new priesthood. This is a new type of priesthood, not the old kind where you just went once a year for the atonement of the people, but this is a new type of high priesthood. This is Jesus. In 6, what do we learn that was happening in chapter 6?
Let us move on to maturity.
Mm-hmm.
And don't fall away.
Hold on
Right.
tight.
So, yeah. Hold on tight. What was happening? Who were these people and what was happening?
They were Jews, and
Mhm.
they were some were being persuaded to go back to the old order of things and go back to the old covenant instead of the new.
Mm-hmm.
They were being persecuted, and that was an easy way to look at just going back and not being persecuted.
Right. So he's saying, he's encouraging them, no, this priest is better. It's better. This is a new covenant. So don't go back. Press on. Keep growing. And then in chapter 7, what do we learn about Jesus's priesthood?
It's permanent.
Kind of calling.
Mm-hmm.
It's permanent.
It's permanent.
And we're called to be faithful to the end.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And he is able to save, as we just celebrated that on Easter.
Yes.
So he is able to save those who draw near. And you'll remember that we had that admonition in Hebrews, let us draw near, let us draw near. And then 8, what was his role in chapter 8?
Jesus, mediator of a better covenant.
Okay. A better covenant. This is, again, a new covenant versus the old covenant. The old covenant, remember, was the law. And now that Jesus has come, there's a better covenant. The word better is a key word. You'll see it on the list of keywords on the left.
Mm-hmm.
Better. What things were better? Where did you see that? Better what? Better what? Better what?
He's better everything.
Yeah. Better everything. But be specific.
He was a better sacrifice to begin with.
Yes.
And he has a better covenant.
Better covenant, better sacrifice,
Mm-hmm.
better than the angels. Overall, this whole system is better than the old one, and therefore hold fast. Chapter 10. We talked about this a little bit already, that Yvonne was saying that he was offered once for all, draw near and hold tight. Okay. So that's the segment. All of that segment from 3 to 10 is talking about Jesus, the high priest, and all the different elements of that and why he is better. and what he did for us. So that's the segment. So first he just is explaining who Jesus is and his authority, and then he starts talking about him being the new high priest and what all of that means in those chapters. And then in the final segment that we're starting in this study, in 11 through 13, it says Jesus is the founder and perfecter of faith, right? So what is chapter 11 all about?
Faith.
Faith. How would you know that?
Very first verse.
Okay.
It's
The
known
very
as,
word.
it's also just known as the faith chapter.
Right. And see, why would we call it the faith chapter?
Because it says by faith several times.
Yeah, several times, even more than several times.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So this is a great example of what a keyword is. Okay, a keyword is going to be repeated, and it's going to tell you what the subject is. So in this chapter, there is no doubt that subject, the main subject, is faith.
Says it all throughout.
Right, it says it all throughout. So we say it's the faith chapter, but I just want you to understand exactly why we say it's the faith chapter.
Mhm.
Because it's just, there's no getting around it. It is all about faith. So Hebrews chapter 11. I want you to, if you have chapter 10, we're just going to go back to chapter 10 for a minute. Okay? Because Hebrews chapter 11 starts out with, now faith is the assurance of things hoped for. But where does the subject of faith actually begin?
At the end of, well, the middle of 10.
Yeah, so definitely faith is mentioned throughout the entire book of Hebrews. But to connect, I just want to show you again to connect one chapter to the next, because chapter 11 doesn't just start out talking about faith just randomly.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we go back to chapter 10, verse 30, wait, where am I? Oh, I'm looking at 11.
22 talks about faith.
Mm-hmm. 22 talks about faith. He says, let us draw near. Let me go back to
19.
19. Yes, 19. Yeah, therefore, brothers, therefore, okay. And again, what do we have to do when we see a therefore?
Look before.
We have to go even back further. Why is he saying, therefore, we have confidence to enter the holy place? What happened to give us confidence to enter the holy place? So when you go back up to verse 12.
Christ was the sacrifice, the sacrifice.
The sacrifice, yes. It's the single sacrifice. Sat down, his job is finished. He sacrificed his blood, which was better blood, which was the blood that would save us once for all. And therefore, we have confidence to enter the holy place. We have confidence to enter where that veil was torn.
Yeah.
Right? So we can go in. We have confidence to enter that through the curtain that is his flesh. Awesome statement. And since we have a high priest over the house of God, then verse 22, let us draw near with a true heart in full assurance of faith, with our hearts sprinkled clean from an evil conscience and our bodies washed with pure water. So, and let us draw near, let us hold fast what we believe. Let us consider how to encourage each other in that belief. And then there's the warning about if you go on sinning deliberately, there are consequences. There are consequences. We talked at length about that in that lesson. And he says, remember the former days when you were persecuted after you had been enlightened and you struggled, but you persevered through that. You have to keep persevering through that. Your faith has to get you through that. And then in verse 35, therefore, do not throw away your confidence, which has a great reward. For you have need of endurance, so that when you have done the will of God, you may receive what is promised. Verse 39 says, but we are not of those who shrink back and are destroyed, but of those who what?
Have faith
Faith.
Who have faith
And
and
persevere.
preserve their souls.
right, and preserve their souls. So we are not of those who shrink back, but we're the ones who have faith and preserve our souls. And then you get to chapter 11 that says, what is faith? Okay. So you put that in the context here, what he's saying to them. And now he says, we are those who have that faith that you're going to need to persevere, have that reward because of what Jesus did. And so now chapter 11, he describes what faith is to them. Okay? Remember that they are persecuted and they're thinking about, we should just go back to the old system. And he's saying, no, faith. Hold on to your faith. And then he's going to give them illustrations of people who did exactly that. Right? So let's just look at chapter 11 for a minute, or 2 minutes. Yeah. So again, it starts out chapter 11, verse 1. What do we learn about faith in verse 1?
The assurance of things hoped for.
Okay, so here's the definition of faith. Faith is the assurance of things hoped for.
Conviction of things
There you
not
go.
seen.
Conviction of things not seen. Okay, let's just think about that for a minute. The assurance of things hoped for. What are we hoping for?
Eternal life, heaven.
Mm-hmm. Right. What are they hoping for in Hebrews? What have they been promised? Yeah, eternal life. Faith is the assurance of things hoped for. And the conviction, I love that word, of things not seen. Not seen. Any thoughts on that, of the conviction of things not seen when it comes to our faith?
In a sense, that's the essence. Because you don't have to have faith in things you can see and touch and feel and know about. That's a bit of a simplification, but it's the things you can't see that you decide if you have faith to believe them.
Mm-hmm. The things that they are seeing are the things that are troubling to them. The persecution, the things that they can see. Okay? But he's saying, no, faith is the conviction of what you can't see. What do you know to be true? What have we just talked about with Jesus and his sacrifice? That's our confession. So we have to have that conviction that that confession of faith is true. What about verse 2? By it. What is the it?
Faith.
Faith. So if you marked faith all the way through this chapter, then you should have also marked it.
I did.
Good. Congratulations. Good. So by faith, the people of old received what?
Their commendation.
Their commendation, their approval by their faith. It was their belief in Jesus that gained them the approval of God. And verse 3, I love how he starts out, because what is the first illustration of faith that he gives them?
The creation of the world.
Yeah, the creation of the world. And how did God create the world?
Spoken. Spoken into
Not,
being.
not by something that we could see,
Mm.
but we believe he created the world by his word. He spoke it and it came into being. Have you been seeing any of the pictures coming back from the moon shots of that world that he created?
Oh, yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing when I'm looking at that verse, and this is the illustration of faith that he created this. And then we see those pictures of the earth, from like 360 views, from the moon. And there it is. There it is. That's kind of helping us visual proof of that creation. Was somebody saying something? Okay. Okay. So this whole chapter, he's explaining, why is he explaining to them about faith?
Again, a reminder. Sometimes we have to be reminded of what has transpired in the past so that we can see what lies ahead for us.
I see it as examples from history of the even better faith we have available to us.
Yeah.
As Paul says in Romans, without faith you cannot please God.
It's true.
It is true. Without faith. Okay, and we see that even in when he talks about Enoch in verse 5. Verse 6, it says, and without faith, it is impossible to please God. Why is that an impossibility to please God without faith?
You have to believe that he does exist.
Exactly. Exactly. So if you don't believe he exists, then that can't be pleasing to him. And you're not going to be commended for not believing in him. So your belief in him is their belief in him all through this chapter is what got them their approval by God.
Yeah.
These groups of Jewish believers would know what he was talking about.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you for pointing that out, because we always have to go back and remember who this letter is written to. And he can easily just start rattling off all of these Old Testament examples because they would know it. They grew up with it. They would know all of these accounts. So when he's telling them now about faith and giving them examples of people that they know and what they did by faith, what did they do? How was their faith manifested? See, that's the other thing. It's like if you have faith, then it has to be manifested in some way. So if you have faith, how do people see that?
Right.
You would think the example of Abraham would be the strongest because he existed before the law was given to the people of Israel, but by his faith he was declared righteous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, their father Abraham, right? Very strong example. Any other first impressions about this chapter? We're going to be looking at it again next week, but just want to, on our first run through it, anything that really jumped out at you, made an impression?
One of the things that kind of jumped out at me is that most of the people that commended were pretty flawed. There's something that they did that was, not pleasing to God, and yet still they're on this,
Mhm.
Hall of Fame of faith. So that was encouraging to me.
Mhm.
Yeah. Fancy building a massive boat when you don't live anywhere near the sea and yeah.
Right. Right. Definitely took faith. Did you notice anything just about the list of people that are mentioned here?
They weren't all perfect all the time.
That's encouraging.
And we've got Rahab, and it's amazing that she ends up as in the genealogy with
Right.
Jesus, and it's
Right.
lovely, that she's there as well.
Most of us don't have the aspiration, I guess, of being to be included, those who are mentioned by name specifically in here. So my identity flows more towards the back end of that chapter in 36. Will I be one of those who, even though you suffer mocking and flogging and death, some were sawn in two, they didn't get any mention by name, but they lived by faith.
Mm.
Disciples are included in that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The question that came to me was, would I be included in that list by my faith?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's faith that takes us through the pearly gates.
True. And that's what he's trying to say to them. Your faith, you have to endure in that faith. Even if you end up being in these few verses where they were stoned or sawn in two or killed with the sword, even if that's where it takes you.
That always feels to me like the proof of the resurrection, that these people would do that. They would never do it for something that they didn't think was real.
What's the martyr? Believe that too.
Yeah. Right. Good point.
Mm-hmm.
I thought of that this week. We got something in the mail, some little magazine. I don't even know who it came out, but it's called Voice of the Martyrs.
Yeah.
And in there are all these stories about people who suffered horrible treatment, but they're, not only did they remain firm in their faith, but they even forgave those who mistreated them so badly.
Mm-hmm.
So there's about 5 or 6 different kind of testimonials in there. And so that reminded me of this chapter.
Yeah, not everyone gets delivered from persecution, from those hard times. And like Patricia was saying, it just makes her think about the resurrection has to be true, because people wouldn't do that if it were not true. And so because of the resurrection, what do we have?
Confidence.
Yeah, that's where.
It talks about these people, going back to like verse 14 and 15 and 16. What are they seeking? Yeah, somebody said it.
A homeland.
A homeland. Yeah.
A homeland, right. And what do we know about this homeland that they are seeking?
Flows with milk and honey.
Where's the homeland?
In heaven, and Jesus is preparing a place for us there.
Right. Yes. So they are looking ahead. They have hope in a future homeland. It says if they were seeking the one they left, they could easily go back there.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
But we are all looking for that homeland that awaits us in the future. So their faith, everything that they are enduring, is because their eyes are fixed on that new home that will be theirs. And they are obviously willing to endure a lot and not let go of their faith. Hold fast your confidence in the truth that Jesus died and was resurrected. Hold fast.
I love what it says in verse 16. It just jumps out at me that because of their faith, therefore God is not ashamed to be called their God. And that's what I want to be. I don't want God to be ashamed to be called my God, or I want him to be happy to be called my God.
Yeah, he's given his approval, his commendation to all these people because of their faith. And he's willing to be called their God.
I feel like that's just good enough for me. If he's willing to be called my God, I'm happy.
Yes, right. And Sherry, that kind of follows in these people who were flogged and mistreated, and it says in verse 38, of whom the world was not worthy. These people, they suffered greatly for their faith, and the world was not worthy of those people. But God approved of their actions. God was happy to be called their God. So they're looking forward to a homeland that is not here, but is in the future, that's been promised to all of us. Anything else that you saw that is significant here? It's all significant, but anything that you saw that really spoke to you?
That's a question, really. When it says they didn't get what was promised, are we talking about the return of Jesus? Because they obviously got their heavenly reward. When is it talking about the return of Jesus? They didn't get that, but have I got that wrong?
No, you have not got it wrong. Because what was promised was this future, this homeland, and Jesus coming. And it talks about, are you talking about verse 40?
Yeah, 39, 40, yeah.
39 and 40,
yeah,
right.
Yeah.
They all were approved by God because of their faith, but they didn't receive what was promised, which would be yet eternal. It was still coming, eternal life. But it says because they did not receive what was promised, since God had provided something better. There's that word again. Something better for us on the side of Jesus, that apart from us, they should not be made perfect. So because of Christ now, the old law couldn't make them perfect. We talked about perfect not being without fault, right? But perfect in that completed. So now the Old Testament, New Testament together completes the Old Testament people, the New Testament. Right? So they still have this homeland, this eternal home. So that's still theirs. But they didn't at this point receive what was promised. Just like we haven't yet either.
Right.
Yeah. We haven't yet either. But so what did we learn from all of these people? What is their example of faith? How is that going to help us? Why would he explain to these Hebrews what these people did? Why would he give them this whole list of people who by faith exercised, their faith and did the things that they did? Abraham, Moses, Joseph, all of them by faith followed through on what was promised to them.
They were all people they would have been very familiar with. These aren't just new examples that, these are examples that they already know.
And so how will that affect those present day Hebrews in their situation?
Show them that the faith is what gives them the promise, not following the law. So don't try and go back to something that's not going to help you.
Right. Remember the law could not save them. Could not. So they were constantly, he's like, look to the future, look to the future, look to the future. That's where your hope is. Your faith is going to get you there.
And I think for us today that, when we start to waver and get kind of weak, we could look back and see all the things that these individuals went through. So that will give us some motivation and strength to hold on a little longer.
Hold on. How much longer, Yvonne?
As long as you have to.
Right. You hold on until you get to glory.
Not until he calls us home.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But see, what is he saying to them? You have to understand the truth. The truth is this: Jesus is your high priest. He died once for all. His blood sacrifice cleanses our conscience. Right? So hold on to that truth. That truth is the most important thing in the resurrection. You believe in that. That's all you need. And to know, like Sherry said, that God is pleased to call his, what did you say? He's happy to be called your God. Right.
The verse says, God is not ashamed to be called their God.
Yes. Thank you. Yes. But that's the thing about knowing the truth. Knowing the truth, if you absolutely believe it's true, then you just hold on to that. And you walk in that no matter what. If things go good, or if things go bad, if you get your head chopped off, it doesn't matter.
It's okay.
It's okay, yes. Just do it quickly, right? It doesn't matter because you have a homeland that you're going to, that all these people went to. That's where we're going. The interesting thing is here. Somebody say something.
We have a Father who is waiting for us. And
Right.
this challenges us deeply in our faith to live by what he's asking us to do here in this. This is a powerful chapter.
Very, very powerful. And again, reminding us that you have your faith is in Jesus Christ.
Yes.
Who died for you and whose blood cleansed you and whose death tore that veil in two. So that's what your faith is in. And that is the solid truth that all of life centers around, is death and resurrection.
Hebrews 12.
You cannot change that truth. You can choose to believe it or not believe it, but it doesn't change. It is true. So if you don't believe it, then you're not going to have these promises. But if you do believe it, then just hold fast to that and keep going. Keep going, because we have that homeland. Interesting thing here, because I spent the winter in Florida at the Clearwater Corps then, and it is mostly an older congregation. And we joke about it being heaven's waiting room. People come here and they die from here and go to glory. And so, and it's a really positive attitude here. It's like everybody knows we're all going to glory one day. And when we leave, it's just people are happy. People are happy. They've had a great life and we're happy for them and we know that they've gone to glory. And so I had to say goodbye to people on Sunday. And some of them I knew I would not see again. Some move away and I won't see them again. And as I left, I'm just like, we all were like, see you in glory. We'll see you in glory. Because that's our next stop. That's we know for sure we will all be together there. So see you in glory. Some are like, one lady is 95. She said, I don't know if I'll be here next year. I'm like, it's okay. I'll see you in glory. Because that's our hope. So that's, our life of faith is just lived out so that we get there and that we encourage other people in their faith.
And that's why some other people say, hold on to the faith, because it can so easily slip through our hands and we can lose the faith. But
Hold
people
on.
say, hold on to the faith.
And again, it just goes back to knowing that you believe that the truth of Jesus dying and being raised again. That's the truth. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a wonderful chapter.
Yes. And I love that it started way back with Cain and Abel. It started way back there, faith, all the way through. So we are going to spend next week looking at this chapter again. And I just want to share with you, because next week's lesson, I don't know if you've looked ahead at all, but it's like day 1 through 5 all lumped together. So here's what you're going to do. So you're going to do a study of faith in the book of Hebrews, because faith is mentioned starting with chapter 2. You'll find the word faith.
Yeah.
So what I recommend you do is go through, read the whole book again, just looking for the word faith.
Mm-hmm.
And when you see it, if you haven't marked it, mark it, and then write down a list. Make a list of everything you learn about faith as it unfolds in the book of Hebrews.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I would approach it. And then it's going to ask you to come to some conclusions about faith and what it is and where it comes from and what you do because of it. So it'll be a really good study about our faith. And then we'll talk again about these people. But that's how I would do it. Just go back and just make a list. Make a list and then look at that list and evaluate it and see what you learn. Okay? So for now we're going to take Sherry's verse that talks about God is not ashamed to be our God.
Thank you.
Yes. And just live with that joy. He's not ashamed to be our God. And the world is not worthy of us. No. Okay. So persevere. Hold on. It's all true. We just celebrated that. It's not about colored eggs and Easter bunnies. It's about Jesus's death, the high priest, the better blood, the better sacrifice. Everything better. Once for all. Okay, so if you have any questions when you start next week's lesson, just send me an email, but it should be very simple if you just go back and just find every reference to faith and make a list about what you learn. Okay, you can do it. But when you look at the page, it's one page and it's all day 1 through 5 all together. And I'm like, what? You're not giving me any help, but you're going to be fine. Just fine. So just rejoice in that God is not ashamed to call you to be your God. Not ashamed.